Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that your application has gone viral. Thousands of users are signing up every minute. Traffic is pouring in from different parts of the world, notifications are exploding, and everything seems to be going perfectly. But then, suddenly, your application crashes. The website stops loading, users start complaining, and your entire service becomes unavailable. Why did this happen? The answer might surprise you. Before companies like Netflix, Amazon, Instagram, Uber, and Facebook built massive distributed systems capable of serving millions of users, they all started with something much simpler: a single server. In fact, almost every application starts this way. And if you want to truly understand system design, you must start here as well. Because before learning about load balancers, distributed databases, caching layers, microservices, and cloud architectures, you first need to understand the foundation upon which everything is built. So in this video, we're going to explore the single server setup, the simplest architecture that powers almost every application in its earliest stage. There's a famous quote that says, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Building large-scale software systems is no different. When a startup is just beginning, the goal is usually to move fast, validate an idea, attract users, and keep costs low. At this stage, there is no need for dozens of servers or complicated infrastructure. Everything runs on a single machine. That one server handles the web application, the business logic, the database, the APIs, the cache, and sometimes even file storage. In simple terms, one machine is responsible for the entire application. Think of it like a small restaurant where one person takes orders, cooks food, serves customers, and handles payments. It may sound inefficient, but when there are only a few customers, it works perfectly. Similarly, when an application has a small number of users, a single server is often more than enough. Now, let's understand what actually happens when a user visits your application. Suppose someone opens a browser and types a domain name like api.mysite.com. At this point, the browser knows the name of the website but doesn't know where that website is physically located. Computers communicate using IP addresses, not domain names. So before anything else can happen, the browser needs to find the IP address associated with that domain. This is where DNS or domain name system comes into the picture. You can think of DNS as the internet's phone book. Just as your phone contacts convert a person's name into their phone number, DNS converts a domain name into an IP address. When the browser asks DNS for the location of api.mysite.com, DNS responds with an IP address such as 15.1, 25.23.214. Now the browser knows exactly where the server lives. Once the IP address is obtained, the browser sends an HTTP request directly to that server. The request travels across the internet and reaches the machine hosting the application. The server receives the request and begins processing it. Depending on what the user is asking for, the server may perform authentication, execute business logic, retrieve information from a database, access cached data, perform calculations, or communicate with other internal components. After processing everything, the server prepares a response and sends it back to the user. This response could be an HTML page, an image, a video, a document, or simply some data. The browser then receives that response and renders it on the screen. This entire process happens so quickly that users rarely notice the complex chain of events occurring behind the scenes. In simple terms, the request flow looks like this. The user enters a domain name, DNS returns an IP address, the browser sends an HTTP request to the server processes the request, and finally, a response is returned back to the user. Now let's talk about where this traffic comes from. Most applications receive traffic from two major sources: web applications and mobile applications. A web application is what users interact with through a browser. Websites like YouTube, Amazon, LinkedIn, and countless others fall into this category. These applications typically consist of a front end and a back end. The front end is responsible for everything users see and interact with on the screen, usually built using technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The back end handles the actual business logic and is often built using languages such as Java, Python. Whenever a user performs an action, such as logging in, searching for a product, uploading a photo, or placing an order, The front end sends a request to the backend server. The backend processes the request and returns the appropriate response. The second major source of traffic comes from mobile applications. Mobile apps communicate with servers in a very similar way. However, instead of receiving complete HTML pages, they typically receive raw data through APIs. The most common format used for this communication is JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. JSON is lightweight, easy to read, and supported by almost every programming language. For example, imagine a mobile application wants to retrieve information about a user whose ID is 12. The app might send a request like getUsers12. This request reaches the server, which processes it, retrieves the required data from the database, and returns a JSON response containing details about that user. The mobile application then takes that data and displays it in a user-friendly format on the screen. At this point, everything looks perfect. The architecture is simple, easy to understand, and inexpensive to maintain. Development is faster because engineers only need to manage a single machine. Deployment is straightforward because there is only one place where the application runs. Operational costs are low because additional infrastructure is not required. This simplicity is exactly why almost every startup begins with a single server setup. However, success introduces a new challenge. As more users join the platform, more requests start arriving at the server. The CPU works harder, memory consumption increases, network traffic grows. Storage requirements expand, but perhaps the most interesting challenge appears inside the database. Every time a user logs in, views a profile, sends a message, creates a post, places an order, writes a comment, or updates information, the database is involved. Initially, this is not a problem. With a few hundred or even a few thousand users, the database can easily handle the workload. But as the user base grows, the number of database operations grows with it. Suddenly, the database becomes one of the busiest parts of the entire system. Now imagine hundreds of thousands or even millions of users interacting with the application simultaneously. The same server is trying to serve web pages, process business logic, handle API requests, manage cache operations, and run a constantly growing database. Every component is competing for the same CPU, memory, storage, and network resources. Eventually, the machine reaches its limits. Response times become slower, user experience starts degrading. And if the server crashes, everything goes down together. The website becomes unavailable, APIs stop responding, the database becomes inaccessible. Since everything depends on a single machine, that machine becomes a single point of failure. And this is where the real system design journey begins. The challenge is no longer building an application. The challenge becomes scaling it. What should we do when one server is no longer enough? Should we buy a larger and more powerful machine? Should we move the database to a separate server? Should we distribute responsibilities across multiple servers? How do companies continue serving users when traffic grows from thousands to millions? These are the questions that system design aims to answer. In the next video, we'll explore the first major evolution in architecture that happens when a single server setup can no longer handle the growing workload. We'll see why separating the database becomes necessary, how systems start evolving beyond a single machine, and how engineers begin building architectures capable of supporting massive growth. Because handling a few thousand users is easy. The real challenge begins when your application becomes successful enough that one server simply isn't enough anymore.